Every ETF has a story, and some of them deserve to be told. ETF Stories from Resilient Advisor brings you some of the most interesting stories from the world of ETFs. Learn more by visiting etfstories.com. This episode is sponsored by Flex Distribution. Learn more about Flex's innovative resource and asset management distribution platform by visiting flxdst.com.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of ETF Stories. My name is Jay Coulter, and on today's episode, we're going to discuss the V-Shares U.S. Leadership Diversity ETF, symbol VDNI. My guest for this episode is Mamadou-Abou, who is the portfolio manager and president of the firm. Mamadou, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Jay. Good morning to you.
Good morning. All right. So this is definitely a unique ETF story. It is a new ETF story that just launched here at the beginning of the year. Let's start at a high level. Who are the people behind VDNI?
Here we go. So people behind the team, it's actually an international team of investment professionals. We are sustainability experts, research, quantitative portfolio management, and product developer. The key denominator amongst us in the leadership team is that we all work together. 3 of us are alumni of Northern Trust Asset Management, and 2 of us alumni of HSBC Quantitative Management. So at the core team, we have folks who work together, manage portfolio together, and develop capabilities. Another key marker, Jay, is that amongst us, the 4 of us at the core team, we speak 10 languages, which doesn't count all the coding languages. So fairly international, experts, and we've been in the market for at least 20 years for most of us.
Wow. All right. So Mamadou-Abou, this particular product is a U.S.-based product, though, correct?
It is indeed.
So tell us about the U.S. team.
So the U.S. team here is a team with myself and Habib Moudachou, the co-founder. Habib is a former Vident, JP Morgan, HSBC Quant PM, 20 plus years. He has managed over 20 billions across asset classes and also launched and managed over 85 ETFs over the past 10 years. So we bring that expertise of launching ETFs, managing exposure across market segments. You mentioned it's a US portfolio, but we have expertise in emerging markets and also across asset classes. So that's for the co-founder and CIO. Myself, a bit of background, Jay, worth mentioning. So I started as a currency trader 20 years ago. Then I moved into asset management as an equity strategist, and I spent my last 10 years prior V-Square, my firm, as the global head of product and sustainable investing at Northern Trust, headquartered in Chicago.
Okay. So let's talk about the philosophy behind VDNI. At a high level, what are you guys trying to accomplish?
Yeah, pretty simple. The business case is the following, Jay: unlocking the diversity value. Our CIO wrote an interesting paper last year titled Diversity, What's in It for Investors? Fair question. And as a portfolio manager, we compared that to diversification at the portfolio level and diversity. They both have the same Latin root, and they share something in common. They both carry value. Human capital is capital and a driver for performance for companies. We can all agree on that statement. And as you diversify asset classes in a portfolio, if you do the same with human capital and you are intentional, you tend to get better outcome. And that's the main thesis. It's proven by academia, drawn in research, and also empirical evidence that is actually add value when you change leadership and have a layer of diversity at the top of companies, Jay.
And did you say you guys wrote a paper on this topic?
Yes.
Where could investors find that paper?
www.vsqm.com, and the name of the title of the paper is Diversity, What's in It for Investors?
Excellent. We'll have links to that in the show notes as well. So from a philosophical standpoint, that's very straightforward, but the process of investing in that type of philosophy has to have some type of guardrails to it. So tell me, what process do you guys use for VDNI?
Sure. Yeah, it has to be rules-based, ultimately, right? We are practitioner, we are fiduciary, we understand rules about building indexes. And so we partner with ISS ESG. Now, some of your advisors will be familiar with ISS on the proxy voting side. They may or may not, but ISS is known for having a range of analytics that helps to proxy your vote, but also look at ESG analytics. What they've done, Jay, is that they've developed a database and depository of director, gender, and ethnicity groups. They have around 230,000 data points. Okay. Now, we use that data set into building that index, which is the underlying index of VDNI, the ISS US Diversity Index, which is a free float adjusted index. Okay. So we are replicating the index. It's a passive portfolio. And then we are leveraging that index and data set from ISS ESG.
Okay. So is that a third-party grading system, or is that an internal grading system from the index that you guys built?
Great question. It is a third-party rating system, but to be able to select that, we did a full inventory of the market data set, and we went out there and see who has the best data. And it requires a great sense of analytics about understanding the rules, rebalancing, frequency, the transparency of data, the accuracy of data, and all these elements that makes an index investable, right? So that was the first part we did as a team. And then we connected with the ISS, and we felt compelled that they had the best data set when it comes to DNI in the marketplace.
Okay, excellent. All right, so now let's talk about the actual portfolio as it sits today. How does it look from a sector level? And then let's talk about some of the underlying securities today.
Sure. So let's look at it in the context of a broader portfolio. So the proxy of the parent index or universe is the Russell 3000, meaning large, mid, and small capitalization in the US. It's your bellwether index, okay? That is the starting point. And then we apply the rules to select the stocks that will comprise the end index based on the factors that we are mentioning, focusing on human capital that is diversified, women, ethnicity diverse as well, okay? So you start with a Russell 3000 type of universe, and then you narrow down, you place your screens, and you end up with around 496 securities at the index level. Okay. Now, VDNI, we are actually replicating the risk and return characteristics of that underlying index. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's the process, three-step process: broader universe, screens in place, and universe replication process. That's how it is applied to our own fragment.
Okay. And so then how does the portfolio sit today as it relates to any type of over allocation to particular sectors?
Yeah. So if you think about these type of metrics, we see obviously that certain sectors tend to have better DNI metrics. It's the case in the technology, right? You see that as certainly a sector where you have kind of more diverse talent being represented, women and also ethnically diverse. So that's one of the sectors. But across the board, the fact that it's actually an all cap US portfolio that is fairly diversified, you're getting a great sample of all the sectors ultimately, right? We're not taking a sector out by saying you don't have any GNI metrics. We actually are a cross sector exposed to all the economy in the US. Another good point to get a sense, Jay, is that particular portfolio has a correlation close to one with the Russell 3000 or S&P 5. So for an advisor, if you want to think about your buckets, my US exposure, my all cap exposure, it's a nice complementary play that comes alongside your all cap US exposure, right? So that's a point worth mentioning.
Okay. So, well, and that's actually how we like to wrap up these ETF stories, is where you see it in a diversified portfolio. Yep. So it's a all cap exposure product that could complement an existing portfolio. Are there any other applications based on your experience? Yeah.
So for me, I would think about kind of the broader allocation. Obviously, clients will look at some of their thematic play, okay? And then they will, they may think about it more so in terms of core and satellite, how they want to assemble the broader portfolio. So it is a core portfolio, all cap US exposure that allows you to unlock the diversity value based on academic research that shows that diversity at the top is a foreteller for corporate culture and company potential outperformance, right? And last but not least is also looking at one of the first innovative index that looking into diversified human capital. Looking the same lens at the diversification at the portfolio level, how can you embrace that and get exposure to clients? So these are the three key points: all cap US exposure, innovative index, unlocking diversity value, and then diversified human capital as a key element to the VDNI.
Excellent. To learn more about VDNI, please visit v-shares.com. That's v-shares.com. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
My pleasure.